尊敬的李廷侃博士以及各位线上抗癌乐园的朋友们，大家晚上好！感谢大家在百忙之中抽出时间来参加我们 MORE Health 爱医传递举办的直播讲座。我是今天的直播主持李兴哲。如大家所知 ，MORE Health 爱医传递是一家总部位于美国硅谷，专注于重大疾病、疑难杂症及罕见病的互联网远程医疗服务机构。公司自成立以来，依托自主研发的具有 FDA 认证以及严格遵守美国 HIPAA 医疗信息安全法案的远程会诊平台，携手中美顶级医生，帮助更多中国患者获得更优质的医疗服务。长久以来，肺癌都是最能严重威胁人类健康的恶性肿瘤之一。据近年来中国肿瘤登记中心的数据统计，全国估计肺癌新发病例约 73.28 万例，占全部恶性肿瘤新发病例的 19.9%， 位居恶性肿瘤发病第一位。全国估计肺癌死亡病例约 59.07 万例，占全部恶性肿瘤死亡病例的 26.5%， 位居恶性肿瘤死亡第一位。有鉴于此，医学界从未停止针对肺癌的新药及方案的研发。在今年的美国临床肿瘤学年会上，一系列针对肺癌晚期一线治疗的临床试验结果不断发布，成功的针对晚期肺癌患者的不同病情勾勒出清晰而有效的一线治疗方案，包括 Keynote-042、Checkmate 227和 Empower 131等各类免疫靶向药物都展现出了优异的表现。在这些实验结果发表之后，我们可以期待这些药物将很快作为一线疗法被写入 NCCN 的癌症治疗指南，成为肺癌的主流治疗方式之一。由此可以看出，在美国对于肺癌治疗的研究和转化一直发展得更为迅速，使美国的肺癌患者拥有更多可选择的靶向治疗、免疫治疗和各类联合治疗的方案。为此 MORE Health 爱医传递在今天专门举办这场以2018肺癌治疗最新前沿为主题的美国中美远程医疗直播讲座，并很荣幸地邀请到美国的肺癌专家、美国纪念斯隆-凯特琳癌症中心的李廷侃博士，与中国医生和患者分享他的经验。李廷侃博士现任美国顶级肿瘤医院纪念斯隆-凯特琳癌症中心的主任医师，也是 MSK 就是纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心的国际部中国项目的负责人。李博士在澳大利亚和美国的顶尖医院有近20年的临床经验，是世界著名的肺癌专家，也擅长通过分子靶向治疗其他实体肿瘤。李医生在纽约曼哈顿总部 MSK 总部领导了多项精准医学的临床试验，开发世界最新的癌症药物。作为一名医学科学家，李医生也带领着许多转化医学项目，把实验室的发现转化为临床试验，也同时把临床上的观察经验带回实验室做科学研究，让他能利用科学上的最新突破，带给病人最尖端的精准治疗。近年来，李医生在 HER2 基因做了深入的研究，把乳腺癌的 HER2 治疗转化成肺癌和其他实体瘤的分子靶向治疗手段之一，再通过自我设计的蓝字试验证实了医学疗效。这个治疗的突破已经改写了当今美国 NCCN 治疗指南。同时，李医生带领的液体活检科研团队正在研究血浆游离 DNA 和循环肿瘤细胞的测试，以科技创新带给患者无创的癌症测试，从而引导高效率的精准治疗。李医生在 Nature Medicine、Cancer Discovery、Journal of Clinical Oncology 等国际顶级医学和科学杂志上发表了几十篇文章。他著作的 Fast Facts Immuno-Oncology 免疫肿瘤学一书在医疗界广受好评，最近被译成中文，即将出版。因其在精准肿瘤医学领域的多个突出贡献，他荣获了来自美国临床肿瘤协会和美国癌症研究协会等多个奖项。下面我们就把时间交给李博士，开始今天的讲座。Dr. Li, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dylan, for the kind introduction, and thank you, MORE Health, for providing this opportunity and platform for me to share some good news with people in China. It is a very exciting time to be doing oncology, as the scientific advances today are unprecedented. So I would like to take this opportunity to share with you as a thoracic oncologist, what is the latest cutting-edge treatment advances in 2018?
那么李医生先向大家问好，是很高兴能够今天被邀请来进行这样一场讲座，也很感谢 MORE Health 爱医传递搭建这个平台，能让李医生有机会把美国最新的科研成果、肺癌治疗领域的最新信息带给大家。这是一个目前非常令人振奋人心的时代，是一个很好的肿瘤学的一个研究和临床实践的一个时机，因为有很多新的药物在发现，然后新的药物的新的指征也在得到验证，所以李医生今天很高兴能够有这个机会把美国这些新的科研信息带给国内的患者和医生。
Thank you, Dylan. 其实虽然本人呢也可以讲一些中文，但是呢这些都是医学的专业词汇，所以也非常感谢这个李兴哲医生可以帮我做这个很专业的翻译。所以今天的这个讲题呢，我还是会用英文来直接和大家这个解说。Okay, so just looking at the lung cancer incidence and mortality in China, it is really number one in China. It is currently affecting, in terms of 2015 data, 750,000 in new diagnosis every year, and close to that number, 610,000 deaths from lung cancer. And if you compare that with all the other common cancers, it stands as number one in incidence and mortality.
那么首先就是看一下在中国的肺癌的一个流行病学的数据，可以看到癌症的发病率和死亡率里边，肺癌都是居首的。具体数据就是在肺癌方面，发病率是达到73万多，然后死亡率的话也是差不多接近的数字是60多万，这些都是位居首位，然后比其他很多肿瘤加起来的总和还要高。
While in the United States and Western Europe, this incidence in lung cancer is actually falling over the last decade or two due to changes in epidemiology, especially our smoking habits. But as you can see from this figure, the incidence has not fallen in China at all.
这张图上我们可以看到，在美国包括和英国就是西欧这些国家里边，肺癌的发病率实际上是在逐年减少的。在最近20年来说的话，可能是逐渐因为吸烟人数的减少而发病率开始逐渐降低。但同时我们看到这条蓝色曲线显示是在中国的肺癌发病率却是逐年上升的。
And in terms of the causes of lung cancer, the major risk factors are smoking, passive smoking, and air pollution.With the emerging data on this particulate matter in the air.
那么主要的肺癌的发病因素包括吸烟，还有二手烟的暴露，还有空气污染，尤其是最近我们知道中国的雾霾已经逐渐有一些证据的证明可能跟肺癌的发生有关。
And if you look at the smoking prevalence in China and break it down by their age, for example, the year of birth,and by sex, you can see interesting patterns. First of all, in women, it's very rare for women to smoke in China. We have a prevalence of between 0 to 2% according to various studies, whereas in men, this number is more than 50%. The majority of men smoke or have smoked in China. And that number it seems to have plateaued, but it's certainly not falling significantly.
那么根据性别和出生年份来观察吸烟的一个流行程度，首先可以看到有趣的是在女性里边，吸烟的普及率是非常之低，然后到近年可能是能降到2%和2%以下，甚至是接近0%了。但是在男性里边的吸烟的普及率大概是至少50%以上，也就是说是多数男性在中国都有吸烟的历史。在近年来虽然有逐渐下降的趋势，但是其实是一个接近于一个平台期吧，属于一个稳定期。
But as we know that active smoking is not the only cause of lung cancer, and therefore it is not the only solution that smoking control. It is extremely important, but there we do have many women in China who suffer from lung cancer, many of them who've never smoked, but they have been subjected to passive smoking and environmental pollution.
那么我们可以知道，虽然吸烟是很重要的一个肺癌的发生因素，但是控烟也并不能解决一切问题，因为我们也知道，在中国有很多女性从来没有吸烟，但是由于二手烟和环境污染等种种原因，也会有肺癌的情况，所以这里面就需要有更多的干预因素来进行处理。
So you can see that the effects of smoking cessation have made an impact in the incidence and also mortality of lung cancer in the United States. Here you can see that through the early part of the 20th century, smoking was relatively uncommon, and then there was a sharp rise through the mid-century. But towards the end of the 20th century, there's been a decline in smoking prevalence, and this also was followed by a decline in lung cancer mortality, especially among men.
那么我们可以看到吸烟和肺癌的发生率与死亡率的一个关系。然后这张图上左边图上的黑线显示的是吸烟普及率，大概是在20世纪上半叶的话，吸烟普及率是逐渐增高，然后到20世纪下半叶的话，吸烟率是逐渐在下降。我们会看到蓝色显示的是男性的癌症就是肺癌的一个死亡率，它和这个吸烟程度普及程度的逐渐增高，大概有一个20年左右的滞后期，但是也是有个非常明显的相关性。当吸烟的普及度下降之后，20年左右，肺癌的发生率也开始下降。
And here, this is data from the World Health Organization. While the numbers are all starting to fall towards the end of the last turn of the century across United States and Europe, this number in terms of lung cancer mortality is still on the rise for China, especially in rural China, both men and in women.
然后右边的这两张图呢，是来自世界卫生组织统计的肺癌死亡率。我们可以看着，随着年限往右边逐渐接近21世纪初，肺癌的死亡率在大多数国家都是逐年下降的。但是这条蓝线非常扎眼，就是我们中国的肺癌死亡率仍然是逐年上升，尤其是在女性里边也是有逐年上升的趋势。特别指出是这里边主要包括的是中国的这个农村地区。
So with this trend, many would fear that China would be the lung cancer capital of the world in all aspects of statistics.
所以对着这个趋势来看的话，很多专家都担忧，是不是中国我们会成为一个所谓的肺癌首都、肺癌中心。
And you can see this is mortality data in terms of cancer deaths, and leading way at the top is lung cancer for men and for women.
然后这张图上就是特别显示，在中国男性和女性里边的话，肿瘤死亡率位居首位的，在头上这条绿线上面都是肺癌。
So it is fair to say lung cancer is the number one cancer problem in China.
所以总结起来说的话，肺癌是中国癌症的最大问题。
So as we mentioned the changing social habits and epidemiological patterns, there may be some changes in terms of types of lung cancer. But overall, lung cancer can be broken down to two major types, non-small cell lung cancer and small cell lung cancer.
那么在近年来，因为一些流行病学因素的变化、社会经济学的变化，可能肺癌的亚型有一点点改变，但是总体来说，肺癌还是可以被分为两大类，就是小细胞肺癌和非小细胞肺癌。
And the small cell lung cancer is currently between 10 to 15% of all lung cancers, and that number has fallen over the last decade or two. And on the other hand, the non-small cell lung cancers is about 85 to 90%, and with the predominance of adenocarcinoma. At about last century, squamous cell carcinoma was by far the number one type of lung cancer, but this has fallen. Squamous cell carcinoma is more related to smoking, and as smoking rates have fallen in the United States, so has the incidence of squamous cell carcinoma. And now there's been a rise of adenocarcinoma, now being the predominant histologic subtype with 60%.
那么小细胞肺癌呢，是大概能占到10%到15%左右。在近些年来的话，10年、20年左右，实际上发病率是在下降的。然后非小细胞肺癌能够占到85%到90%左右，其中呢最常见的又是腺癌，能占到60%。这在近年来实际上是有变化的。在20世纪中叶后叶的时候，实际上肺鳞癌是发病率相对更高一点，因为这个鳞癌是跟吸烟相关，但是随着吸烟的普及率逐渐下降的话，那么鳞癌的发病率开始降低，而腺癌逐渐成为了在非小细胞肺癌里边发病率最高的一种。
And there are other rarer types of non-small cell lung cancers, including large cell carcinoma, large cell neuroendocrine carcinoma, and adenosquamous carcinoma. But due to the improvement in pathology diagnosis through the use of immunohistochemistry markers, many of the previously so-called large cell carcinoma or non-small cell lung cancer not otherwise specified are now being identified as adenocarcinoma.
那么其他一些比较罕见的类型，包括大细胞癌、大细胞神经内分泌癌，还有腺鳞癌等等等等，这些的话也都是非常少见，也是随着近年来的话，逐渐免疫组化这些检测技术的更为先进、更为普及、更为精确，然后把以前一些所谓诊断不明，只能归类为非小细胞肺癌、不明特殊亚种的这些肿瘤，目前都能比较精确的诊断出来，而多数这些后面都是被诊断成为肺腺癌。
And it's important to make this pathologic diagnosis correctly because this really impacts on our precision treatment of the lung cancer. It does make a difference, so it does make sense, and it's worthwhile doing the additional testing by the pathologist, not simply looking under the microscope, but doing additional stains with immunohistochemistry to really precisely work out what type of lung cancer, because they are not all the same.
这个明确诊断呢也是非常重要的，哪怕是肺癌的亚型的鉴别诊断也是非常重要。这个时候就是要求我们不仅仅要求病理医师要在镜下观察，同时也要做足够的分子诊断、免疫组化染色等等。如果能够精确的诊断出是哪一种肺癌的亚型，这样能更好的指导我们在后续治疗时候的一些选择。
So today we are going to focus predominantly on non-small cell lung cancer.
那么今天我们讲座的主要主题是围绕非小细胞肺癌。
So non-small cell lung cancers, once it's diagnosed, it's important to find out what stage of disease the patient has. So stage means how far this cancer had spread. So starting from the bronchus, which is part of the airway in the lungs, it could grow to a certain size, which will increase its stage, and then it could spread to lymph nodes that are draining the tissue of the lung. So this would also increase the stage, and those tumors can then spread to further lymph node and more distant stations of lymph node to the other side of the lung, for example, and then eventually to the pleura, to the chest wall, and outside of the chest cavity to other organs, the liver, the bones, the adrenal gland, the brain, etc.
那么关于非小细胞肺癌的分期呢？分期就是主要来研究一下肺癌它的一个散播的一个程度。它从最开始的肺癌发生，可能是在支气管气道里边产生，然后逐渐的是向淋巴结可能有一点过渡，然后可以到单侧的淋巴结，然后逐渐可以过渡到在纵隔中间的淋巴结或者是对侧的淋巴结，然后再往后边的话，可能侵扰到这个胸膜，然后突破胸膜之后到胸壁，然后也可能转移到远端的其他器官，包括肝脏啊、骨头啊，还有这个肾上腺等等等等，这样逐渐的一步一步进展开，它的分期是逐渐升高的。
So this is the statistics in terms of survival. This is a survival curve where the x-axis is the length of time that the patient gets to live, and then the y-axis is the percentage of those patients who are still alive by that particular time. So you can see that by the different colors, each meaning a stage or a subset of the stage, the probability of surviving, for example, 5 years to 6 years, drops depending on the stage of the cancer.
那么右边上面这张图呢，横坐标上面就是指的是根据不同的这个时间的逐渐的进展，往右边是时间越来越久，然后纵坐标显示的是依然存活的患者的比例，然后每一张曲线不同颜色代表的是一个不同的分期的肺癌或者是不同分期的亚型的肺癌，然后这个时候可以看到，随着分期逐渐升高，就是从1期到4期逐渐升高之后，随着时间的进展到5、6年之后，这个存活的比例是随着肿瘤分期的逐渐增高，存活比例逐渐下降。
But I do want to make a point here that even though the lung cancer statistics are not good, however, having the diagnosis of lung cancer is certainly not the end of the world. We have patients with stage 1 non-small cell lung cancers with living to 5 years with an 80 to 90% probability, and it drops down to 73% if it's 1B. As you can see, even with stage 2 non-small cell lung cancers, we can have a 40 to 65% chance of living to 5 years. And our 5-year survival traditionally was a surrogate for cure, because if you happen to live to 5 years without the cancer coming back, then you're probably cured. Although that's not black and white, but this is a good indication of a longer-term survival. And even at stage 3, which is really spread of disease often to the mediastinum, the center of the chest, you can still live to 5 years, although it's not the majority, but some people do.
那么我们可以看到分期来看的话，具体分析，因为肺癌听起来是一个很可怕的诊断，但是在现在来看，诊断得了肺癌之后，也不代表世界末日。我们可以看到60个月，就是5年的时候，如果是1期的患者，尤其是1A 期的患者，有80%到90%的一个生存率，然后即使是二期患者的话，也是56%到65%左右，也是超过一半的生存率。再往后边的话，到3期的肺癌的话，一般来说是有局部进展期，已经转移到可能是纵隔的淋巴结之类的。生存区在5年的时候呢，可能是小于一半，但是也有患者，相当一部分患者是可以得到存活的。
Even at stage 4, when the disease has left the one lung, it's not curable, but it's still treatable, and patients can still survive years and living quite well with good treatment. So therefore, it is important, with that in mind, that the patient is informed of the diagnosis, and it's not the end of the world, and we can all work together between the patient, the physician, and the family to find the best possible treatment in order to maximize survival for the patient and the quality of life, and provide hope. So hope is still alive despite the diagnosis of lung cancer.
那么即使看到4期的患者呢，在5年之后仍然是有小部分可以实现存活。我们可以知道4期的话，一般来说是出现了远端转移，我们认为是不可治愈，但是仍然是可以非常有效的治疗。这个时候，因为只要是患者积极的选择正确的治疗方式，那么还是有希望能够得到长期存活的。这一点是非常重要，就是希望患者在得知肺癌的诊断的时候，不要觉得是世界末日，要知道在后边我们可以通过患者自己以及家人的配合，通过医生选择正确的治疗手段，是可以在得到保证患者生存质量的情况下，能够大大的延长患者的生存期的。
And it's important, we have learned that the patient is involved in the decision-making process. This leads to better outcomes. And we used to hide the diagnosis from the patient because the family members lovingly thought that this would cause the patient to give up and lose hope. But this is an outdated thinking, probably stemming from a century ago. And with the modern statistics and the modern treatments, it's important that the patient is part of this, the team who's involved with decision making and communication. And this will help us achieve the best possible outcome.
同时很重要的一点需要指出，就是要尽可能的把患者 包括在所有治疗的决策之内。这一点非常重要，因为我们知道以前的传统观念是患者得了肿瘤要瞒着他，不想让他知道，怕他丧失希望，很快就放弃了治疗。这也是已经是差不多是就上个世纪的一个想法了。在更新的数据是显示呢，实际上如果患者能更积极的参与到治疗决策当中，他的治疗效果反而会更好。所以我们又要非常强调要把患者包括到这个治疗团队里边来，一起做决策，来一起积极的沟通，这是非常重要。
So overall, you can see that the treatment for stage 1 and 2 is largely involving surgery, and if surgery is not possible, then we have new radiation techniques, including stereotactic body radiotherapy, or some would call it radiosurgery, that could be an alternative to surgery, aiming at a cure definitively.
那么可以看到，肺癌根据分期治疗的不同，一般早期就是1、2期的肺癌呢，主流还是手术来处理。在手术不能进行的时候呢，可以用比较新的一个放疗技术，叫做立体定向放疗，或者是放疗手术这样一个概念来进行局部的处理。
There's benefit in terms of adjuvant chemotherapy in stage 2 and 3 non-small cell lung cancers to increase the chance of cure.
在2和3期的肺癌里边的话，在手术之后呢，有一个辅助化疗是有可能增加患者的一个长期的生存率，甚至达到治愈。
And in stage 3, where it's spread to the mediastinum, which is the center of the chest with multiple lymph node stations, the treatment is multimodality involving surgery, but often with neoadjuvant chemotherapy before surgery, or adjuvant chemotherapy after surgery. And we often, for stage 3 disease, use postoperative radiotherapy, although not in every single case, but this data here at Memorial Sloan Kettering certainly support this approach. And if the patient is unable to do surgery because of poor lung function, or if there's a stage 3B disease, which is a lymph node involvement in the contralateral side of the cancer, then concurrent chemoradiation can also be used as a definitive treatment. This is all aimed at cure. Cure meaning we finish a course of treatment, we stop all treatment, and the patient goes on with their normal life, and the cancer never comes back again, and the patient end up dying from something else. We all have to die one day, but hopefully not cancer.
那么3期的肺癌治疗呢，我们仍然是抱有一个根治性的目的。就是根治性是什么意思？根治性就指的是不管我们接受了什么样的治疗，在治疗之后患者不需要接受额外的治疗，然后就能像之前一样正常的生活，然后希望肿瘤再也不会复发，然后可以因为其他的有一些其他的因素可能患者过世，但这些事都是人不可避免的。但主流就是想通过根治把3期的肺癌可以让肿瘤不再复发。主要的治疗手段呢，包括手术之前新辅助化疗，或者手术之后采取辅助化疗，还有手术之后也可以采取辅助的放疗，这些在我们纪念斯隆·凯特琳癌症中心也得到了证实是有效果的。如果对于某些患者不能接受手术，肺功能比较差的话，那么就用根治性的同步放化疗也是一个选择。
And we are currently studying the role of adjuvant immunotherapy or neoadjuvant immunotherapy to further increase the chance of cure in these patients.
那么目前我们也在积极研究新辅助，就是手术之前使用或者是辅助手术之后使用免疫治疗是否会带来更大的生存获益。
Certainly, if the patient undergoes chemoradiation concurrently, the use of immunotherapy after chemoradiation for up to 1 year has already been proven in the randomized phase 3 Pacific trial to increase survival, and that is increase the chance of cure.
那么目前已经知道，在进行根治性的同步放化疗之后，如果进行辅助免疫治疗，在1年左右的话，已经是被目前一个3期的临床研究实验证实了，能够大大的提升患者的生存率和无进展生存率。
And even in stage 4 disease, there is the intent of treatment is palliative, meaning prolonging life and also improving the quality of life of the patient. And it's a number of systemic treatments, including chemotherapy, immunotherapy, targeted therapy, often employing local radiation therapy as palliative approach and to help with the systemic treatment. And there are also interventions that could be performed by the pulmonologist or the radiologist.
对于4期的肺癌来讲呢，我们治疗的目的是姑息性。姑息性的意思就是说是能够很好的保存患者的生存质量，并尽可能的延长一些生存时间。那么主要的治疗手段包括多种的化疗方案、免疫治疗、靶向治疗，还有放疗，是通过一些局部的姑息性放疗来使得系统性的治疗能够继续的时间更长一些。还有包括通过介入呼吸内科，可以做一些介入治疗来进行局部的处理。
And when a patient comes to my clinic with stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer, my goal for treatment is survival in years, hopefully many years, but not months.
如果是4期的肺癌患者来到李医生的诊所的话，他的第一个首要的目的就是说，这个患者在他的治疗下应该是可以存活多年、很多年的，而不是以月来计的。
And this is really, it's a breakaway from traditional statistics, and this is a field that's rapidly changing, and we need to change our mindset from a traditionally quite a nihilistic approach to stage 4 cancer to one that's filled with hope and courage. Although not everyone has a good outcome, but there is certainly hope for very good outcome, and I have many patients in my practice who are living many, many years, beyond 5 years, even 10 years, with stage 4 non-small cell lung cancer.
这个就是说是和传统的观念很不一样。传统认为4期的肺癌已经很晚期，可能没什么好的治疗方式了。现在李医生说，因为这个肺癌的治疗领域是日新月异的变更，所以他觉得要充满希望，同时患者要充满勇气来面对。因为李医生本人他的很多患者是存活能达到5年，甚至也有10年的。
So last week on Friday, I just saw a patient who told me that his son was at the time his son was getting married, so he had to stay alive for the extra year. So he got on treatment, and he did go to the wedding, and he had a great time. But then now he's telling me his grandson is coming out, so he needs to be alive for another year. So that's his next milestone. But I think that will not be his only aim. When the grandson comes out, he would like the grandson to grow up and go to school and keep going.
那举个例子，就是李医生上个星期5看的一个患者，已经是很多年了，然后每次都有一个小的目标，像是儿子快要结婚了，说那我能不能再活1年？李医生给他用的药，那么他就安全的度过了1年，然后度过1年之后又说我的外孙子又快出生了，那么能不能再加1年？然后李医生也是让他安全的度过了又1年，所以觉得这类患者呢，像虽然是4期患者、晚期患者，仍然是可以不停的有这样的小的一个里程碑，然后可以实现长期的存活。
So when looking at the modern treatment, we need to use all the tools in the toolbox. So there is local therapy, which is really plays the main predominant role in stage 1, 2, and 3 disease when we are aiming at a cure. And we also have systemic therapy, which are adjuncts or adjuvant therapies in the stage 2 and 3 setting. But when it comes to stage 4, because the cancer has already left the lung and traveled to other organs, and it is in the bloodstream, we're talking millions of cancer cells in the bloodstream floating, and the CT scan or the PET scan cannot see, the mainstay of treatment would be systemic medical therapy in order to target and treat and kill every single cancer cell that's in the body, wherever they are hiding. And therefore, in the stage 4 setting, chemotherapy, targeted therapy, or immunotherapy would play the main role, although we do still use surgery and radiotherapy in specific indications to help the patient.
那么现在的肿瘤的治疗方案，我们看到有下面很多种，我们是要尽可能的用到所有可有的选项。在局部治疗的，就是针对1期、2期或者一些3期的肿瘤患者来讲，外科手术或者一些局部的放疗仍然是主流。那么进入到2、3期的时候，可能系统性的治疗、全身治疗，就是化疗之类的，可能起到一个辅助的作用。但是到了4期，就是出现全身有转移，可能血液里边有100万计的肿瘤细胞，我们可能肉眼看不见，同时外科手术也没有办法把整体都处理一遍的时候，这个时候系统性的治疗，包括化疗、 靶向治疗和免疫治疗，那么就是要对4期的患者成为一个治疗的一个主流。当然，这时候外科手术和放疗在晚期4期的患者里边也是有一些局部的应用的可能。
So when we're looking at the data for stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 cancers, in terms of chemotherapy, the adjuvant chemotherapy treatment has using cisplatin combination has been proven in meta-analysis of randomized trials to save lives, but the benefit is rather small in total. But if you break down by stage, it's actually a 3% benefit in stage 1B, a 10% benefit increase in your chance of cure, that is, in stage 2, and a 13% increase in stage 3A disease.
那么在术后是否进行化疗的一个选择上呢，我们是有很多的综合分析和临床试验，来得到了一些结论，就是说是化疗，尤其是顺铂组合为主的化疗呢，是能够得到生存获益的。我们把它根据不同的分期来看结果的时候呢，可能在1B 期的时候，绝对的存活率的收益可能是只有3%左右，但是到了2期，这个获益率就达到10%，到了3期的患者里边能够达到13%的一个生存获益率。
So if after optimal surgery, if you're in a stage 3A disease, if your a 5-year survival or chance of cure is in the order of 30%, then this would boost it up to 43%, increasing the chance of cure.
那么举个例子，如果3期的患者，我们可能觉得5年的生存率大概是30%左右的时候，这么绝对存活率加了13%，就是能够达到43%左右，是一个很明显的、很大程度上的获益。
And in terms of which chemotherapy partner we use, one of them we use platinum, either cisplatin or carboplatin. But when we did randomized trials looking at paclitaxel, gemcitabine, docetaxel, they didn't seem to make a difference in terms of the progression-free survival or overall survival in non-small cell lung cancers.
那么在晚期肺癌里边，究竟使用哪种化疗会好一点？我们主要都是根据以铂类为主的一个化疗组合，铂类指的是顺铂或者卡铂，那么和紫杉醇的搭配、和吉西他滨的搭配，或者和多西他赛的搭配，这几种组合都得到了对比，实际上是总的生存率和无进展生存率是非常相似的。
Yet further studies of chemotherapy had shown that there is a difference in activity when we selected by histologic subtype. So when we give cisplatin pemetrexed in adenocarcinomas, those patients did better, slightly better than cisplatin gemcitabine.
那么根据非小细胞肺癌的亚型来筛选化疗组合的话，那么针对腺癌来讲，我们得到的结论是使用培美曲塞对比吉西他滨来讲会有稍许的一些获益。
And in this study, this difference was the opposite. For squamous cell carcinoma, they did better with cisplatin gemcitabine compared to cisplatin pemetrexed.
那么这个临床实验里面，当时得到的结果是，针对腺癌的话，培美曲塞比吉西他滨更好一点。但是反过来，对鳞癌来讲，这个顺铂加培美曲塞的组合实际上是不如顺铂和吉西他滨的组合。
Therefore, it's important to work out the histologic subtype with the pathologist. It cannot just be lung cancer. It cannot just be non-small cell lung cancer. We need to know the exact histologic subtype. Is it adenocarcinoma? Is it squamous? Because the choice of chemotherapy does matter. And in lung cancer, even if the difference is small, every little bit counts.
那么这就是刚才李医生之前为什么提到一定要明确诊断，哪怕只知道必须不能只是说是非小细胞肺癌，而要明确的诊断到底是腺癌还是鳞癌，因为我们可以看到这对下一步的治疗选择是有非常重要的指导作用。如果是选错药物的话，那么很有可能会损失一些生存就是中间的无进展生存率。这些虽然看起来差别不是很大，这里1个月那里1个月，但是在肺癌里边每1个月都意义非常重要。
And when we interpret data, we must be aware that the number here is the median. Median means the middle person out of the study group. So it only represents data for that one person. And therefore, there's half the patients in this study who would derive greater benefit or they live longer than this median number.
那么在解读这些数据，想跟大家提一下，这里面列举的都是中位数，中位数就是指的是位于最中间的那一位患者他的一个生存期。那我们就知道这只是针对个人，那同时有50%的患者呢是可以获得比这个更好的一些生存获益，也就是有得到更久的生存期。
So I have patients whom cisplatin pemetrexed doesn't work at all, whereas others would derive many years of benefit with maintenance pemetrexed.
那举例就讲是李医生的有些患者对于顺铂和培美曲塞的组合呢，可能是完全没有响应，但有些患者却对这个组合响应非常好，包括后面使用培美曲塞的维持疗法的时候可以生存很多年。
So don't let any doctor or anyone tell you you have X number of months to live because they quote this median, because everyone is different and you are not a statistic.
所以这里就是想着重强调，不要让任何一个医生或者其他人告诉你你的生存期预计生存期会有多长，这一个数字只是一个中位数，只是代表其中某一个患者，对于每个人来讲个体都不一样，所以我们不能用统计数据来预测每一个个体的一个生存。
To help the patient with planning, we often give a range or a rough guide in terms of we have months to live or years to live or weeks to live, but there is no number that anyone can give you.
所以就是为了让患者可能能有一些大概的预期，我们一般会使用一个范围，就是可能是数个月啊，或者是数年啊这样的一个范围来告诉患者。但是再次强调，是没有任何一个人可以准确的说这个病就是只有这么久的一个存活。
I had patients whom doctors gave them 3 months to live, and they marked the date on the calendar, the 3 months from today's date, and then they waited for that day, and the day came. They waited. They watched sunrise, and they watched sunset, and then nothing happened. And they came to me and asked me what happened. So there's nobody can give you that number. You don't have a number written on the forehead.
有些患者的话，比如说有些医生告诉他们只有3个月可活，这些患者可能就直接在日历上标了从今天开始到3个月那一天的日期，等到那一天发现睡觉了，睡醒了之后还活着，然后过来看李医生的时候就问这到底是怎么回事，李医生就说的确是没有任何一个人可以准确的预测你到底是能够存活多久，所以不要把这一个几天几个月这样一个数字挂在头上。
So some important advances in chemotherapy research is the use of bevacizumab or anti-angiogenesis compounds. And this is the ECOG 4599 study, which was published over a decade ago, looking at carboplatin paclitaxel standard first-line chemotherapy with or without bevacizumab.
那么在化疗之上呢，我们可以考虑加上贝伐单抗。那这个临床的一个概念是临床实验的结果，大概10几年前在新英格兰医学杂志上得到发表。主要对比的就是卡铂和紫杉醇，然后对比使用贝伐单抗和不使用贝伐单抗的一个治疗组合。
This is still part of our practice because anti-angiogenesis is an important way to treat cancer, as the new blood vessel formation and disruption of blood vessels does feed the cancer growth, and by switching off this pathway, normalizing the blood vessel might improve the chemotherapy delivery to the tumor. So there is a scientific rationale behind this.
那么贝伐单抗我们知道是一个抗血管生成的抑制剂，那么它的主要的一个科学原理就是说是能够抑制在肿瘤周围异常血管的生成，这样可以减少对肿瘤的一些供氧啊，然后或者是通过修复一些这些异常的血管屏障，可以能减少肿瘤转移的概率，所以这是后面是有科学原理的。
So this trial was positive, and it led to an improvement in progression-free survival and overall survival, and this was approved in the United States over a decade ago. This study was repeated in China, and also was recently, in the recent years, obtained approval from the China FDA.
那么这个临床实验在12年前的结果就是说是加上贝伐单抗之后能够得到无进展生存期和总生存期的获益，是根据此美国食品药品监督管理局是批准了贝伐单抗的上市。在中国呢，这个临床实验得到了重复的验证，那么也是近些年来在中国贝伐单抗也是得到中国药监局的一个批准上市。
So this is a survival curve. Again, it looked like the blue curve. There were more people staying alive at a certain time at 1 year and also at 2 years. compared to the gray curve, meaning there was a difference. And the median difference was only 2 months difference. But again, this is only one person. That's the median, the person in the middle. But overall, there was an improvement. And in lung cancer, every little thing counts. And that's how this got the drug approved and changed therapeutic practice.
那么总生存期上，我们可以看到蓝色这条线指的是患者使用了贝法单抗，黑色这条线是没有使用贝法单抗的。两条曲线有明显的分离，就是说是在某一个时间节点上呢，使用贝法单抗的存活率要更高一点。从中位的总生存期来看，对比只有2个月的差别，但是前面讲过，在肺癌里边每1-2个月的差别都是很重要的。可以在后面可以看到，在生存率上这个差别就体现到差不多7-8%到10%左右。
So while the chemotherapy research is still important, you can see the differences, the advances have been rather slow and rather small, even though they're still important. Our patients need more, and therefore we need to take much bigger steps forward and go beyond chemotherapy research.
那么化疗以外呢，再通过化疗的一些临床实验来看，我们是得到了一些阳性的数据，有一些进展，但是这些进展还是远远不够，患者需要更多的治疗。所以我们下面来讲一下化疗以外的前沿。
So if you look at the this pie chart, this is Memorial Sloan Kettering data in the first 10 years of this century, 14,000 patients. With lung cancers, you can see adenocarcinoma is really the main histologic subtype, followed by squamous. We also have small cell we talked about, and the others.
那么这个是纪念斯隆-凯特琳癌症中心在21世纪前10年14000名肺癌患者的一个亚型分析，60%的是腺癌，然后13%的是小细胞癌和20%的鳞癌。
We then looked at if you looked at adenocarcinoma as a group. Through genetic sequencing research, we have now understood that this is not just one disease, but so many different types of molecular subsets.
那么针对肺癌这一大类来讲，肺腺癌这一大类来讲，我们进行了下一代基因测序之后，却得出结论是，实际上是有非常多的肺腺癌的亚型。
They're genetically different, and they're driven by different genetic mutations, and also they can lead to different treatments that are aimed to switch off the so-called driver gene mutations that's driving the cancer growth.
那么根据基因测序呢，我们可以发现有一些基因产生了突变，这些我们叫做驱动基因的突变。那么就是通过这些驱动基因突变的鉴定，我们可以在后面找到有针对的分子靶向治疗。
So we will move first to the EGFR story, which is the first one.
那我们下面先讲一下针对 EGFR 的抑制剂。
This was discovered also more than 10 years ago in the lab, including ours at Memorial Sloan Kettering. William Powell, working with Harold Varmus, who's a Nobel Prize laureate and former president of Memorial Sloan Kettering. They worked together in the lab and discovered that these activating mutations in the EGFR, or epidermal growth factor receptor on the cell surface, the mutations lead to constant activation of this signal, telling the cancer to keep growing and keep growing and keep dividing and don't stop.
那么 EGFR 基因突变的发现呢，也是在10多年前，当时是一个诺贝尔奖获得者，也是当时我们纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心的前主任。然后在他的实验室里发现了有这个 EGFR 基因的激活突变之后呢，这个下游的细胞信号通道是持续的被处于激活的一个状态，而让肿瘤细胞不停的生长和分裂和生长，让它不停的出现肿瘤一个生长的一个迹象。
And William Powell and Harold Varmus had found that the epidermal growth factor receptor inhibitors, the small molecules, erlotinib, gefitinib, had fit in that pocket of mutation and can work to switch it off, this cancer signal, and lead to cancer cells to die. And this discovery was actually simultaneously made back in 2004 by both Massachusetts General Hospital and Dana-Farber Cancer Institute at Harvard University as well.
当年发现这个EGFR 这个突变的时候，他们也同时发现了2个抑制剂，就是厄勒替尼和吉非替尼，可以就是放置到这个突变的一个结构域里边，从而抑制这个突变对于下游 细胞信号通路的一个激活，从而就是关闭肿瘤增殖的这样一个途径，让肿瘤慢慢变成肿瘤死亡的一个过程。这个当时也很巧是在哈佛大学和丹纳法伯癌症研究所和麻省总医院也是同时发现了这样一个现象。
And this led to the randomized phase 3 trial IPASS, which was predominantly conducted in Asia, with China taking a leading role in this, showing that gefitinib worked extremely well and better than the best chemotherapy in those who are mutation positive. On the other hand, those who are mutation negative, chemotherapy did better than gefitinib. This is really ushering a new era of precision medicine.
当时根据这个实验室的发现，我们进行了大规模的一个临床试验，叫做 IPASS。当时很多是在亚洲患者里面开展的，尤其是我们中国的患者，有很多加入了这个临床试验。得到的结论就是，有 EGFR 突变的患者的时候，使用吉非替尼比使用当时最好的一个化疗组合要有很多的生存获益。但反过来，如果没有 EGFR 突变的话，使用吉非替尼反而是不如使用化疗的一个组合。
And this study was led by Professor Tony Mok in Hong Kong and Professor Yilong Wu from Guangzhou.
当时这个临床试验的主要的领导人物是我们广州的吴一龙教授和香港大学的另外一位专家。
So this subsequently also were followed by a multitude of randomized phase 3 trials comparing EGFR targeted therapy to chemotherapy and showed the same results. This is the result from Japan, looking at gefitinib versus chemotherapy, a huge difference. You can see the survival curve is much different than the one we saw with bevacizumab, a huge separation of the curves in terms of how many patients will be alive at a certain time point. This is looking at erlotinib, a similar EGFR tyrosine kinase inhibitor. This is the optimal study that was also conducted in China. And we also looked at afatinib, which also showed the same thing. And there's also a Chinese made EGFR tyrosine kinase inhibitor called icotinib that also recently had shown improvement in outcome compared to chemotherapy in these patients.
那么就是后边有很多和吉非替尼类似的 EGFR 抑制剂，包括吉非替尼在日本的临床实验可以看到这个生存率的获益是非常广的。相比比如说贝法单抗，当年我们记得那两条曲线挨得还是比较近，但是这些 EGFR 抑制剂的这些生存优势的曲线都是扩得非常宽的。还有厄洛替尼，当时也是在中国做的临床实验，也是结果是阳性的。还有阿法替尼以及埃科替尼是一个国产的 EGFR 抑制剂，也是有相比化疗来说有其他优势。
And more recently, the second generation EGFR inhibitors, they form a covalent bond with the protein structure and causes irreversible binding to the drug target. And in this class, which is afatinib and dacomitinib, recent data has shown that they outperform the first generation inhibitor gefitinib in 2 randomized trials.
那么第二代的 EGFR 靶向治疗的抑制剂呢，它们是可以和这个 EGFR 这个受体可以形成一个共价键的一个结合，也就是说是一个不可逆的一个结合。这些包括阿法替尼和达克替尼，他们在针对跟吉非替尼进行头对头比较的时候呢，都在最近的临床研究中得出结论是比一代的 EGFR 抑制剂是更有效一些。
Most of the benefit is in progression-free survival, but the updated data from this Archer study looking at dacomitinib versus gefitinib has shown also an overall survival benefit that was presented by Tony Mok at ASCO this year.
那么一开始他们观测到的区别主要是有无进展生存期的一个优势。然后对于达克替尼来讲的话，在今年的美国临床肿瘤学年会上面报道了临床实验结果的一个更新，是实际上对比吉非替尼，也就是一代的EGFR 抑制剂的时候，达克替尼是有生存期的一个优势。
And third generation inhibitors are also have also come through, and the one that's been successful is osimertinib. And this is a mutation-specific EGFR inhibitor. And in the drug resistance setting, where T790M, a secondary mutation, developed after resistance to a first-generation inhibitors such as erlotinib or gefitinib, it had shown sensitivity towards osimertinib, both in the lab, but also in randomized phase 3 trial, first in phase 1, and then it went to phase 3, comparing with standard chemotherapy, and showed a significant benefit in this setting. And osimertinib is now a drug approved after drug resistance to first-generation EGFR inhibitors.
那么第三代的 EGFR 靶向治疗包括奥西替尼，它主要针对的是在出现对一代或二代 EGFR 靶向治疗耐药的时候，一般是常见的有一个 T790M 的突变。针对这个突变的EGFR 的话，奥西替尼是有它独特的，包括在实验室里边，还有在临床试验里面都得到了验证，它有很好的抑制效果。在对比化疗来讲的话，奥西替尼是有很好的一个优势。基于这个临床数据，奥西替尼目前是被批准用于对于一二代 EGFR 靶向治疗出现耐药之后进行使用。
And now, even in the first-line setting, when I say first-line, that's the first line of defense or first systemic medical treatment. And certainly, we would like as many lines as possible in order to maximize survival. So in first line, we give our very best treat medicine. And in this case, it actually outperformed the first generation EGFR inhibitors, both in progression-free survival, but also in overall survival. And this had led to, certainly had led to the approval of osimertinib in the first line setting. I would say the overall survival at the moment is immature data as a caveat, but certainly this requires longer follow-up. But this study has already changed our practice, and osimertinib is now our first line therapy at Memorial Sloan Kettering.
那么针对奥西替尼对比一二代靶向治疗在一线治疗的时候的使用，我们讲一线治疗就指的是上来就要使用一个最有效的治疗方案，能使患者后面有可能能接受多线的一个治疗。那么奥西替尼也是被发现在对比一二代EGFR 靶向治疗的时候呢，是有一个比较明显的无进展生存期的一个优势。所以根据这个最新的临床试验的一个报道的结果，我们在纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心呢是已经把奥西替尼目前提高到了作为一线治疗 EGFR 突变的一个首选。
So the EGFR which occurs in about 20% of lung adenocarcinomas, we have many others, including ALK fusion, which is up to 4%, originally discovered in Japan in 2007, but rapidly over translational research has made its way to the clinic very fast in terms of a new targeted medicine for this disease.
我们可以看到 EGFR 突变呢，当然是占的比例比较高一点，但是有一个 ALK 的一个突变，融合突变是大概4%左右，是在当年日本实验室里发现，同时很快的从发现之后到开始进行药物研发，直到进入临床使用，是一个非常快速的一个过程。
So both in the second line initially, but also then more recently in the first line setting, crizotinib, the ALK inhibitor pill, had shown improvement in progression-free survival over the best chemotherapy.
那么有针对 ALK 融合基因突变的一个靶向药叫做克唑替尼，一开始是在二线治疗里，后来逐渐进入到一线治疗。对比化疗的时候呢，都可以看到对于有 ALK 融合基因突变的患者，治疗效果要远远优于化疗。
And more recently, alectinib, a next generation ALK inhibitor, outperformed crizotinib in the first line setting, and this is our first line standard therapy right now.
那么最新的一个临床药物叫做艾乐替尼，在和克唑替尼头对头比较的时候呢，是有大大的延长了无进展的生存期。所以根据这个最新的临床试验的结果，在纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心呢，对于有 ALK 融合基因突变的患者，艾乐替尼是目前作为首選。
There are second line, third line defense drugs also, including ceritinib and lorlatinib, had also shown tumor shrinkage in patients who had drug resistance to crizotinib.
那么在2、3线的选择的时候，包括瑟瑞替尼和劳拉替尼这些药物，在患者出现对于克唑替尼有耐药之后，仍然是可以使用，并且是肿瘤可以继续缩小。
This is a waterfall plot, so because it looks like a waterfall, and each vertical line is a patient. And the 4 means the shrinkage in percentage of the tumor size. And then if it goes up, then it means tumor increase in size, and that's an undesired outcome. And we like as much waterfall as possible. So you can see the vast majority of patients had shrinkage of their cancer. And then here with lorlatinib as well, the majority of patients had shrinkage. We've also put an arbitrary line as minus 30% being the cutoff for calling a objective response. And this is there's a clinical trial standardized methodology in our reporting.
那么这个2张图上面可以看的比较好看，这个图像是一个叫瀑布图。这个瀑布图呢，就是在纵坐标上面，我们看到正值和一个负值，然后每一个到负值的范围内的一个单个的曲线都表示的是一名患者肿瘤出现了缩小，然后我们就是希望它出现缩小的范围比例越大越好。然后可以看这2张图上可以看到，出现肿瘤缩小的患者是远远多于出现肿瘤增大的患者。然后同时有一条红线和在下面这张图上是蓝线，是标在30%缩小。这个是因为30%的缩小是代表了客观应答率，是一个临床试验上常用的一个结果。
And if the drug doesn't work, you can see those bars going up. And if you have too much of that, then this becomes a fountain plot, which is a failed result for a clinical trial.
如果是有太多的患者出现肿瘤增大，就是相对来说减少来说的肿瘤增大的患者反而是稍微多一点。那个时候我们看到就是所有的这个图这个柱状图都是在阳性这边，就正坐标这边，那么就是变成了一个喷泉图，而不是一个瀑布图。如果是一个喷泉图，那么就是一个临床实验是一个失败的一个结果。
So even rare targets we can pick up by genetic sequencing with ROS1 fusion at 1 to 2% of adenocarcinomas.
那么在腺癌里边也有1-2%左右的患者可能是有 ROS1 基因突变的一个情况。
And we also see a great waterfall plot with crizotinib in these patients, and there are even newer ROS inhibitors being developed, including entrectinib. Very promising data was presented at World Conference of Lung Cancer last year, and also repotrectinib or TPX0005, the data presented by my colleague at Memorial Sloan Kettering, Alexander Drilon, at ASCO this year.
那么针对ROS1 基因突变的话，科索替尼我们会看到这个瀑布图也是非常漂亮，是很有效的。然后另外一些新的正在研发的新的针对 ROS1 基因突变的靶向药，包括恩曲替尼和一个 TPX0005， 这些药物都是在去年和今年的临床肿瘤大会上面得到了报道，效果都是很不错的。
And if you look at BRAF mutations, it's also 2%. And the trial done at Memorial Sloan Kettering using the vemurafenib basket trial has shown a 42% response rate. This is the objective response, those who cross that minus 30% line in non-small cell lung cancers who have this BRAF mutation. And then a combination drug of dabrafenib, trametinib led to a 64% shrinkage rate. Or a response rate, again crossing that line, and we can see even those who didn't cross the line also benefited with some minor tumor shrinkage, and this combination also led to FDA approval and is now standard therapy.
那么再往下面看的话 ，BRAF 这个 V600E 的突变也是有2%左右。然后在斯隆凯特琳癌症中心，我们做了临床试验，一开始研究的是这个突变的特异抑制剂，叫维罗菲尼，是能够达到42%左右的客观应答率，就是肿瘤缩小30%以上。在后面加上了达拉菲尼和曲美替尼这样一个组合之后，这个组合可以使得客观应答率达到64%。根据这个临床试验的结果呢，目前 FDA 也是批准了达拉菲尼和曲美替尼的组合，用来治疗有 BRAF V600E 突变的患者。
And if you look at another rare genetic alteration called RET fusion, it's less than 2% of lung adenocarcinomas. And a lot of research by my colleague Alex Drilon initially shown that cabozantinib had produced objective responses in these patients. And then more recently at ASCO this year, the RET-specific inhibitor LOXO292 had shown another beautiful waterfall plot.
那么在下面看这个 RET 这个 RET 融合基因突变的话，也是只有不到2%左右。那么一开始是卡博替尼被发现可以对它有28%左右的一个客观应答率这类患者，但今年美国肿瘤学年会上面报道的最新结果有一个新药叫Loxo 292这个药物，客观应答率可以达到74%，这个也是纪念斯隆凯特琳中心的新药研发部的主任这个追伦医生发表的结果。
And if you look at the ERB2, also known as HER2 mutation, also about 2% of lung adenocarcinomas, and a clinical trial done by my team here at Memorial Sloan Kettering also showed a 44% response rate with also additional stable disease. Using a HER2 antibody drug conjugate called adotrastuzumab emtansine, or TDM1. This is a drug initially developed for HER2-positive breast cancer. It's a antibody that links a very potent cytotoxin called DM1 packed into the antibody, and then it binds to the cancer cell and gets internalized and then release the chemo like a smart bomb within the cell to and kills the cancer.
那么再往下面看这个 ERBB2 或者叫做 HER2 这个基因突变在肺癌里边也是2%左右。那么针对这一个突变李医生自己的实验室是领先研究了这个 HER2 的抗体偶联药物，叫做 TDM1， 实际上就是一个曲头图单抗和一个比较强的一个 DM1 这个化疗组合的一个偶联，然后这个可以精确的定位到有突变的肿瘤细胞表面，被肿瘤细胞吞噬内视之后，可以释放出这里面的化疗，相当于一个精准的智能炸弹，可以达到很有效的一个治疗效果，等有客观应答率44%左右。
So you can see that a variety of oncogenic drivers that's not traditionally done on just standard PCR-based testing are now increasingly being identified, which can be treated with highly effective targeted therapy. We have first line, second line, a variety of choices, and the list gets longer and longer with more genetic sequencing, and therefore next generation sequencing of lung cancers is really essential to open up these new treatment armamentarium.
那么可以看到这些靶向用药的这个基因突变呢，有相当一部分是平时传统的 PCR 这些基因检测是测不到的。那么通过这些我们前面分享的数据可以看到，针对这些靶向有靶向突变的话，有一些很好的一线和二线的靶向药可以达到很好的治疗效果。所以说呢，下一代的基因测序对于肺癌患者来说是非常必要的。
So at Memorial Sloan Kettering, we have an assay and a platform developed in-house called MSK Impact, and this has recently received FDA approval due to the data, how it helped many patients. We do look for tumor from the biopsy, but also take a tube of blood or sometimes a little bit of saliva to get the normal DNA from the patient. We compare what's tumor and what's normal to really isolate the genetic alterations that's harbored in the cancer cell. We then use Illumina HiSeq for that to undergo next generation sequencing, and through our bioinformatics core, we then interpret the data. And it's hybridization capture, so it's looking at all exons as well as selected introns, which is very important for fusion detection, and it's deep coverage up to 1000x, so lots of rounds of sequencing.
那么纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心独立自主开发了一个下一代2代基因测序的一个平台，叫做MSK Impact。这个的话是非常有效的一个测序平台，它是处于从肿瘤组织里面取组织进行测序，同时有患者自身正常的一个外周血的一个测序，观察哪些是正常的基因情况，哪些是有突变的基因情况。400多个肿瘤基因被拿到做一个2代的一个深度测序之后，是能够产生大概每一个患者有15 GB 的这样一个数据，在一个大的生物信息学、生物分析的一个库里边进行运转之后，然后对于全部的外显子和一些比较重要的内显子，就是说能够测到一些关键的融合基因突变的地方，都有达到500到1000次的一个深度测序。
And before the FDA approval, the vast majority of this testing was actually supported by philanthropic donations from charity. to help advance this science. And fortunately, now we are gaining more data that can actually get regulatory approval.
这个目前已经是被美国的 FDA 就是药品食品监督管理局批准作为一个一线的使用了。在这之前进行研发的时候是得到了很多一个慈善机构的一个支持，然后现在随着我们数据的逐渐扩增，我们拿到了很多更新的一个更全的一些数据，然后这个研究也是在逐渐不停的壮大。
And the sequencing is only the first step, because after that there's a lot of bioinformatics interpretation, there's the sorting of the calling of the variants, and also then clinical interpretation until clinical decision making. So it's a coordinated process. It takes a whole village to get this right.
这个测序平台呢，说起来就是前面测序只是万里长征的第一步，在测序之后拿到了大量的数据，要经过生物信息学的筛选，来产生有用的信息，在后面要进行一下临床的解读，我们来决定哪些到底是有意义的突变，哪些是暂时不需要考虑的，所以要涉及到多学科的一个专家团队，一个很多的人员来进行一个从测序到最后临床解读的一个结果。
So we can then use the genetic variants in the tumor to match the best precision medicine to the cancer, irregardless of the traditional organ site of the primary tumor.
那么我们就可以根据肿瘤的基因突变，不管肿瘤的原发器官的位置，而只针对基因突变来选择精准的靶向治疗。
We conduct basket trials looking at the same treatment for many different types of cancer, as long as they harbor the same genetic alteration that's shared between these patients, although they all have a variety of different cancers. And therefore, I'm a thoracic oncologist, but also a molecular oncologist. In one of my clinics, I can see lung cancer, breast cancer, bowel cancer, brain tumors, but they are all sharing a common molecular profile, and I can treat them on the same clinical trial.
那么我们就根据这些临床基因检测的一个结果，可以筛选出来具有同样基因突变的患者，不管他的原发部位的肿瘤是哪里，我们把这个叫做篮子实验，根据这个来筛选更有效的精准治疗的一个有效手段。然后李医生他本人呢虽然是肺癌专家，但实际上他也是精准医学的专家，所以他在临床上经常也是看乳腺癌的患者也好，肠癌的患者也好，或者是脑癌的患者也好，只要是他们有类似的突变，经常可以把他们用同一种靶向药来进行治疗。
And then it takes a supercomputer to help match all the endless data we produce to a clinically useful decision-making process, including all our clinical trial infrastructure, and using computer system to alert the primary treating physician what is available in terms of the best therapies out there and what's on currently at the cutting edge in terms of clinical trials. And that's how we increasingly match those patients onto newer therapies.
那么同时我们也使用一个超级计算机来帮我们筛选这些大量的数据，临床测序之后得到生物统计学的数据，来通过这些数据来计算机筛选出来一些新的信息，来告知临床医师哪些患者是有可能接受哪些治疗，或者是进入到哪些精准治疗的临床试验阶段。
And all this computer information is now built into our electronic medical records with genetic information that I can hover it over my mouse, and then the data will come out, and from clinical trials both at MSK and also around the world, and we will constantly update the treatment recommendation according to the levels of evidence.
那么这在我们临床实践中已经是进入到了实现，就是在基因检测的结果出来的时候，我们在图标上把鼠标一点就可以指示出我们可能这一个相应的基因突变有哪些临床试验，不光是在纪念斯隆凯特琳，也包括在美国或者全世界，这个患者可能加入，或者是有哪些精准治疗的手段可以用到这个患者之上，这些数据都在不停的被更新。
And through our genomics expert committee, we also constantly update the data and the recommendation for each mutation and each drug based on the changes every day that's happening around the world in clinical trial precision medicines.
那么因为每一天都有新的科研结果的出现，有一些新的靶向药物可能在被更新它的治疗效果，所以我们有一个专家团队在不停的每天更新相应的基因突变所对应的靶向治疗。
So this is a new driver that's not covered in the traditional NCCN guidelines, but this is Kt1 mutation, which is actually happen more commonly in breast cancer, but we do see lung cancers with this mutation. I treat them in the same clinic, molecular clinic, with the same medicine that we treat breast cancer, and we get shrinkages of the lung tumors. You can see the white dots, and those are nasty-looking tumors in both lungs. And after 1 year of treatment, the patient has really had major response and doing very well in life.
那么可以举个例子，像 Kt1 这个基因的话，是在乳腺癌里比较常见。但是我们做蓝字实验的时候，把肺癌患者也加入到里边，使用 Kt1 基因的抑制剂，突变基因突变的抑制剂的时候，使用治疗肺癌的时候，也是得到有效的一个响应。可以看到这个患者1年之后，他肺部的一个结节就已经缩小到快看不见了。
And this is even rarer, the NTRK fusions, which happen in often less than 0.5% of multiple types of tumors. But because of this translational work, it's led to drugs being developed against NTRK, and NTRK inhibitors had shown dramatic responses in patients very quickly. As you can see, this patient with both lungs, left lung, right lung, is really covered. It should be black because that's air, but it's covered by huge nodules, really eating up both lungs. And this patient, I would say, very close to respiratory failure, but after treatment, it melted away. Even after a year later, you can barely see any tumors.
那么像 NTRK 这个 NTRK 基因的突变呢，是更加罕见，大概只有 0.5% 左右的患者。然后我们可以看到，在这个患者里边有这个基因突变，他在使用药物之前的话，肺里面已经长满了肿瘤，但是2个月之后就已经消失的很少了，在1年之后几乎已经消失不见了。所以就是针对这个非常罕见的融合的 NTRK 基因的话，也是有治疗手段的。
And this fusion occurs across a variety of different diseases in all organ types, and also ranging from a pediatric patient, from a baby, all the way to a geriatric patient. And this led to a clinical trial in phase 1 at Memorial Sloan Kettering, where we treated patients as young as 4 months of age, all the way up to 76-year-old in the geriatric population.
那么这个我们可以看到 NTRK 这个基因的话，在从小孩到成人里边，在多个器官、多个肿瘤里边都有可能出现突变。所以我们纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心的话，当时是针对这个 NTRK 基因突变进行了一个1期临床实验，是最小的患者是4岁，最年长的是76岁。
It's actually 4 months, the age of the youngest patient.
最年轻的患者呢，是更正一下，是只有4个月。
And most of the patients achieved great shrinkage, often complete response, that is disappearance of all cancers across a variety of tumors that harbor NTRK fusion.
所以这个结果可以看到，多数患者都是出现了很明显的客观应答，然后有相当一部分患者基本上肿瘤完全消失不见了。
So the use of genetic sequencing, if we don't test it, we're not going to find these rare mutations, and therefore these patients will never have the opportunity to get onto highly effective targeted therapy. Another benefit is that it also counts the number of mutations that's found, and that itself is now increasingly used as a predictor of response to immunotherapy. And this is work done again at Memorial Sloan Kettering, using tumor mutational burden as a new biomarker, TMB, to really differentiate who is going to benefit from immune checkpoint inhibitors.
那么基因测序呢，一般是可以帮我们找到基因突变来预测靶向用药的一个效果，也有新的一些应用是通过来检测肿瘤的一个突变的一个复合，通过它来指导一个对于免疫治疗疗效的一个预测。这也是在纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心引领的指导的一个临床试验的一个结果。
And this is a patient of mine, and you get a genetic report like this for 61 mutations, and it's really hard for the clinician to find which gene do you target. I actually matched this patient onto a clinical trial looking at DNA repair pathways, because there are quite a few of them that's altered. The patient did not respond, but because of the tumor mutational burden I saw in this, I matched the patient onto ipilimumab, nivolumab, combination immunotherapy, and he had a dramatic response. He was so sick. His left lung completely collapsed. He had brain metastasis, lung metastasis. He had liver metastasis, adrenal metastasis, very big, and he had a mass in the neck. He was very sick, but now he gets once a month immunotherapy with me as maintenance, and he's running in the gym and exercising and just looks like a normal person who you see on the street, and he just comes for checkups every 3 months now.
那么像这个患者是李医生本身的一个患者，这个患者可以看到有60多个基因突变，当时是想考虑到针对哪一个基因突变进行靶向治疗好呢？选了一个针对有 DNA 错配修复这个通路的一个基因突变进行靶向治疗，患者没有任何反应。但是突然想到有这么多的基因突变的一个复合，肿瘤突变复合比较高，那么李医生就把它配对到了进行这边叫伊匹木单抗和钠钨单抗组合的一个免疫治疗的临床实验。那患者对于这个治疗的反应是相当的好。当时一开始的时候是肝、肾上腺还有肺部包括皮下组织都出现了肿瘤转移，已经是奄奄一息的情况。接受治疗之后，每个月1次的免疫治疗的联合使用，让患者目前已经恢复正常人的生活。
And in terms of genetic sequencing, we now also use circulating tumor or cell-free DNA as a liquid biopsy and perform genetic analysis in the blood. We can do this repeatedly as a non-invasive tool because it's not a needle into the lung, but a blood test. So you can repeat it as many times as you like to watch for the treatment response, to watch for tumor evolution in molecular features, and to look for drug resistance mechanism, and also anticipate what's going to happen with the cancer and how to be treated.
那么液体活检呢，也是现在逐渐变得流行起来，就是从血浆里边进行游离 DNA 的一个分析，这是一个无创的基因检测的一个效果，就是不用把插针进去到取肿瘤里边取组织，而只是在外抽血就可以进行检测。这一个无创的基因检测可以帮助我们来观察治疗的结果，观察肿瘤的一个分子进化的一个过程，同时可能研究肿瘤出现耐药的一个机制，同时也可以研究我们可以通过什么样的办法来抑制这样的肿瘤。
Our research suggests that plasma and tissue complement each other, and they both play important roles in the molecular diagnostics and treatment of patients.
我们的临床研究也证实了，就是血液的游离 DNA 的检测和真正的组织学的一个检测是相辅相成的，都可以帮助我们对下一步进行治疗选出一个比较好的一个指导效果。
So switching to the last mode of medical treatment, and that is immunotherapy, and that's really the biggest cancer breakthrough in the last several years. And this is a new way of attacking cancer using your own body's immune system. Our body's actually got very strong T cells or immune cells in the adaptive immunity that's designed to take care of foreign material such as cancer. However, we do have breaks on the cells, including PD1, including CTLA4, and those breaks are designed so that the immune system doesn't go overactive in harming our own organs and causing autoimmune diseases such as lupus erythematosus and rheumatoid arthritis. So the body has a checks and balances to in place, but the tumor will exploit that those checks and balances, and really trick our immune cells to tell us that they are normal and that they are normal cells, not cancers, and so they evade the immune system. Those checkpoint inhibitors in the form of antibodies against PD1, against PDL1, against CTLA4, those are really aimed at taking away those breaks, or taking away these, releasing the brakes of the immune system and taking away those checks and balances to prime the immune system for activity and allowing the immune system, the T cells in particular, to go and attack those cancer cells.
那么免疫治疗呢，是近年来的话肿瘤治疗领域一个非常新的一个进展，也是非常火的一个课题。我们知道自身的一个免疫系统是非常强大的，这个包括 T 细胞，它有很强的一个清除外来病原体或者是自身的一些老化细胞的一个功能。那么这些免疫功能呢，它是有一些叫免疫检查点的分子，像是 PD1 或者是 CTLA4 这些免疫检查点来控制这个免疫系统不会不停地攻击自身的一个组织。如果这种自身免疫病发病比较高，往往是由于自身免疫组织没有得到一定的控制，包括像是红斑狼疮啊和风湿性关节炎之类的。那么在肿瘤的情况下呢，肿瘤细胞非常聪明，它有时候可以在这一个生产一些表面的一些配对的配体，可以来抑制这些 T 细胞，就是自身免疫系统对它的攻击，所以逃避免疫系统对它的一个吞噬作用。那么我们现在有一些免疫检查点抑制剂，就是说这些免疫治疗的药物，像是抗 PD1 或者是抗 PDL1 或者是抗 CTLA4 的这些抗体，它们可以把这一个免疫检查点的一个控制这个链接把它断开，这样使得肿瘤呢不能给自身免疫的一个系统这个产生刹车的作用，所以可以使得自身免疫系统可以恢复正常而攻击肿瘤细胞。
So this is the a landmark study published just a couple years ago, the Keynote-024, showing in the first-line setting, advanced non-small cell lung cancer, where those with high PD-L1 expression, the pembrolizumab outperformed the best chemotherapy in these patients, and it's led to both an improvement in progression-free survival and overall survival.
那么可以看到，这个是几年前非常著名的临床实验，叫 Keynote-024 的临床实验，是针对的 PD-L1 表达高于50%的非小细胞肺癌，在这里边使用帕博利珠单抗，也就是派姆单抗的时候，对比化疗来讲，可以大大的获得无进展生存区和总生存期的一个优势。
And we are now getting data that those responses do last, and we're having people who actually survive pretty long term, getting into many years. And you can see that the nature of this curve is that it's different to the one we saw with the chemotherapy studies from a decade ago, when everybody eventually dropped to zero. But here we're seeing a plateau of this curve, that there are a percentage of patients who are living long term.
非常就是重要的一个现象，就是使用免疫治疗的患者呢，是有一个进入平台期一个脱尾的现象，就是说是在生存率降到一定情况的时候，在多年以后，会有一部分患者能够得到长期的存活。这和化疗来说就不太一样，化疗了我们看到它的曲线是逐渐下降，还有趋向于零的一个趋势，就是说使用化疗很可能到最后没有患者能够存活。
And this is latest data from another trial, Keynote-042, presented at ASCO this year, showing in those with PD-L1 positive at over 1% or more, that pembrolizumab also outperformed chemotherapy. And here, the majority of the benefit was actually driven in the PD-L1 high, 50% or more setting, because in those with low PD-L1, 1 to 49%, the difference was not significant, although it certainly was not worse than chemotherapy.
那么在今年美国肿瘤学临床年会上边2018年新发表的一个 Keynote-042 的临床实验，就是使用了帕博利珠单抗，这时候是针对于 PD-L1 阳性，只要是大于1%就可以的患者，也是得到了证实有一个生存期上的优势。当然主要这个优势是获得于在PD-L1 表达大于50%的患者里面，在介于1%到49%的患者里面，实际上和化疗的对比来看，没有一个绝对的一个差别，当然也是不差于化疗。
And here another landmark trial, the Keynote-189, using combination chemotherapy and immunotherapy with pembrolizumab in the non-squamous non-small cell lung cancer setting, because here we use pemetrexed, as you all know now, that this is an active chemotherapy against adenocarcinomas. And here it showed also a huge improvement in both progression-free survival and overall survival compared to the chemotherapy combination alone.
那么在不考虑 PD-L1 表达的情况下，在针对非小细胞肺癌是腺癌的一个亚型的患者当中，在使用化疗和帕博利珠单抗免疫治疗和化疗组合的情况下，对比只使用化疗，那么可以看到有很明显的无进展生存期和总生存期的一个优势。
This is also another trial using a different immunotherapy called atezolizumab, which is a PD-L1 antibody, in combination with carboplatin paclitaxel, also bevacizumab here, 4 drugs combined, also showed an improvement in overall survival compared to standard chemotherapy. This is also in non-squamous non-small cell lung cancers.
那么同时也是针对非小细胞肺癌里边的腺癌使用4药联合的一个组合，是阿特珠单抗是个 PD-L1 抑制剂，加上贝法单抗，加上一个卡铂和紫杉醇的化疗组合，我们会看到在对比不使用阿特珠单抗的时候，也是得到了生存期的一个优势。
And here, pembrolizumab was brought into the squamous cell lung cancers and also showed an improvement in combination with chemotherapy compared to chemotherapy alone.
那么针对鳞癌的话，在使用帕博利珠单抗加上卡铂和紫杉醇类的时候，对比单纯使用化疗也是得到了生存期的一个优势。
So these studies show that immunotherapies are now taking the first line seats in the treatment of advanced non-small cell lung cancers. And through the work of at Memorial Sloan Kettering developing tumor mutational burden as a predictive biomarker, this study, the Checkmate 227, led by my colleague Matthew Hellman, also showed using this predictive biomarker in these patients with TMB high, the combination ipilimumab-nivolumab, this time is immunotherapy alone without chemo, outperformed chemotherapy in a substantial way.
那么在针对我们纪念斯隆凯特琳癌症中心所发表的针对基因突变复合比较高的肿瘤里边，高的肿瘤突变复合肿瘤使用1P单抗和钠5单抗的一个免疫治疗的组合，对比使用化疗的时候呢，也可以看到有一个很明显的一个生存期的一个优势。
So back to the first question. What is the latest in 2018? Really, in terms of trying to choose lung cancer treatment, we need to understand really precise histology and pathology. We need the molecular analysis, preferably next generation sequencing. We need the PD-L1 status to help predict immunotherapy response, and we also need tumor mutational burden. And as you've heard, we have many tools in the toolbox, and comprehensive analysis is critical to choosing the best precision therapy for patients for the best possible outcome.
那么总结一下在2018年我们要怎么选择针对肺癌的有效的治疗？当然，我们首先要收集到组织，然后有一个病理的一个组织学的诊断。那么下一步就是进行分子检测，也就是基因检测。那么2代测序是非常推荐的。后面也要进行 PD-L1 的检测和包括基因突变复合的一个检测。我们有很多种对抗肺癌的工具，那我们有一个非常全面的一个分析，才能挑到最合适的一个治疗手段。
So while we have made remarkable advances in 2018 in lung cancer treatment, I'm absolutely certain that 2019 will be an even better year for patients, and therefore there is hope for lung cancers.
那么2018年到目前为止，我们已经看到很多肺癌治疗方面的新的进展。我也非常确信是在2019年的时候，我们会可能看到更多的进展。所以整个肺癌的治疗领域是一个欣欣向荣的景象。
And with that, thank you very much.
那么李医生的讲座部分到主题讲座部分到这里结束，先感谢大家非常关注的一个倾听。那么我们下边可能时间的关系不能把大家所有的提问都问到，但我们也争取能让李医生提出几个关键的大家想解答的问题，好吧？我们就非常感谢李医生带来这么精彩的讲座。首先，那么1-2个问题，我们先看一下的是。Dr. Li, do you need to take a break or something?
No, we can go straight to the questions and we can answer as many as possible.
Okay, all right. I'm just screening questions right now. Let's make sure some of these are more generalizable to the patients in China. Okay. Yeah, these are the questions from the patients directly, so some of those are very personalized.
That's not a problem.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll just go one by one. So the first one is small amount of pleural effusion after tumor resection like 2 years ago, and the pleural effusion has been slowly being absorbed, but it's still there. No other abnormalities, actually asymptomatic. Do you think this patient needs intervention?
Not just simply by the radiologic findings. Often those get absorbed over a long time by the body, but often this small amount is left permanently. If it's not harming patients, I would certainly opt not to intervene, but it needs to be watched closely with usual active surveillance strategies, including CT scans.
Thank you, Dr. Li. 刚才是问了李医生第一个问题，指的是肺癌手术之后2年多，然后复查一直有少量的胸水，吸收也比较慢，但患者整体没有症状，请问是否需要治疗干预？ 李医生的回答就是说，是因为是非常少量的胸水，同时没有造成症状的时候呢，这些是在手术之后有时候会出现的情况，应该不需要进行手术的干预，应该是在采取正常的肺癌手术之后的一个复查的规律进行 CT 的扫描即可，出现进展或者有新的症状之后再考虑是否进行干预。So the second question is for stage 1A endocarcinoma. After resection, Chinese physicians do not suggest further chemotherapy. So do you think that's still the case? And what else should patient consider trying in the future?
Yeah, so there is no evidence that chemotherapy helps in stage 1A, and as you heard from this talk, and therefore I would concur with the Chinese physician's recommendation of to have no further chemotherapy after surgery. And however, the patient needs to be to undergo active surveillance. The patient is at risk of getting a second lung cancer. There's a good chance of a complete cure if the surgery was done, performed successfully and adequately, but the patient still needs to be monitored with clinical exam and regular CT scans with the surgeon, because if there is a development of a second lung cancer, we'd like to catch it early when it's still curable.
Thank you. 刚才问的李医生第二个问题就是肺癌早期腺癌，大概是1A 期的时候，手术切除之后，国内医生说不用化疗，那么请问是否是这样？那么有没有其他需要注意的？李医生的评论说的是1A 期的腺癌呢，那的确是通过手术有很大的情况下是可以治愈的。那么一般时候在美国他们也是不推荐后续的化疗，然后比较建议的就是后面要定期的进行复查，因为出现一次肺癌的情况之后，后面也很有可能就是出现第二次肺癌的概率会稍微高一些，我们就是非常希望能够在后面比较早的发现，如果有任何复发或者是第二次肺癌的一个迹象，这样的也能在非常早期的时候进行处理，以期能够达到治愈的一个情况。So the next question is regarding This patient had PD-L1 tested as weakly positive between 1 to 49% with Kt1 mutation burden of 30. And the Chinese physician recommended pembrolizumab. However, a patient later developed lung infection. And then the Chinese physician believed the use of pembrolizumab would be very threatening to his life. So recommend the patient stop taking pembrolizumab. So is it the case with lung infection that patients should not use PD-L1?
So I think it's important to really get the diagnosis of this lung infection right. Is it infection by a bacteria, or is it actually inflammation because of autoimmune pneumonitis from the immune checkpoint inhibitors? Certainly, if it's an infection, then treatment with antibiotics, then the patient can certainly get back to the immunotherapy. However, if it's considered an immune-related adverse event, lung inflammation, pneumonitis due to immunotherapy, this can be fatal if it gets severe. So the treatment for pneumonitis is usually corticosteroids, and there are many good guidelines out there and published review articles and books, including by myself, that would give recommendations of at least 6 weeks of a tapering course of corticosteroids, often prednisone. And after the resolution of this, the question about reintroduction of immunotherapy. Now, if it was a grade 3 pneumonitis to begin with, which means life-threatening pneumonitis, or severe pneumonitis that required hospitalization, then reintroduction of this, according to our data at Memorial Sloan Kettering, this was presented by Dr. Fernando Santini, one of our former international fellows at ASCO, and also this was ASCO 2017, and then subsequently published in Cancer Immunology, and this our data showed that the reintroduction, if it was a confirmed immune-related pneumonitis, the reintroduction would pose about a 50% risk of reinducing the pneumonitis. And in some cases, it could be fatal as well. So it's certainly balancing the pros and cons of this. And if the physician was already certain that this was serious pneumonitis, then one would have to balance the pros and cons, the risk and benefit. Certainly, if a patient is running out of treatment options, this could be considered. And also, if the patient hasn't yet responded to the initial immunotherapy, some patients, according to our data, can get further responses can induce responses upon reintroduction. If the patient already had a response to begin with, our data to suggest that reintroduction is often not necessary. And finally, at the time of reintroduction, I would probably choose a different immunotherapy. So Keytruda, if Keytruda was used in this case, pembrolizumab, then I would probably switch to atezolizumab, which is a PD-L1 antibody. And there's a meta-analysis published in the journal Chest by Dr. Kungar et al. Showed that the risk of pneumonitis is slightly less with anti-PD-L1 antibodies compared to anti-PD-1.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Li. 刚才也是问了李医生一个大家关注的问题，在使用 PD-L1 或者 PD-1 抑制剂的时候，如果出现肺部的炎症，就是有可能是感染，也有可能是肺部的一些一个炎症性的反应的时候，一般医生建议会停掉 PD-1。那么是不是这样？应该后面怎么处理？是什么时候可以再把 PD-1 回复？然后李医生的建议就包括，首先是肺部如果出现有可能有感染或者炎症的情况下，要非常注重鉴别诊断，到底是出现了微生物，就是病原体的一个感染，细菌感染，还是出现了因为免疫治疗引起的免疫性肺炎。如果是病原体出现的感染，比如说细菌感染肺炎之类的话，那么用抗生素继续治疗。如果是出现免疫治疗引起的免疫性肺炎的话，那么要停掉免疫治疗，然后开始使用激素的一个治疗这个免疫性肺炎，是一个长达几周的一个像是泼尼松之类的激素治疗。在恢复之后呢，那到底是否是什么时候可以能够恢复免疫治疗，这是一个很关键的问题。在纪念斯隆-凯特琳癌症中心呢，他们也是回顾了临床数据，然后在去年和今年分别进行了报道，就是如果当时是出现有3级以上的免疫性肺炎的时候，这时候再重新开始使用免疫治疗的 PD-1 或者 PD-L1 抑制剂的时候，有50%左右的概率有可能再次出现免疫性的肺炎，甚至有些情况下可能是一个非常有危险的，可能是致命性的免疫性肺炎，所以一定要比较谨慎。然后有一些策略可以避免，就是说是如果一开始患者在使用免疫治疗之后已经出现了响应，那么停药之后，在这个时候可能就不是特别有必要恢复用药，因为当时一开始出现的响应可能还在持续。如果患者当时使用免疫治疗没有出现反应的话，我们后面可能还是要给患者一个机会，再开始恢复免疫治疗，看是否能够出现一个迟发性的一个对治疗的响应。最后就是说是如果是 PD-1 抑制剂使用的时候出现了免疫性肺炎，在最后恢复用药的时候，可以考虑换成 PD-L1 的抑制剂，比如说一开始如果用派姆单抗或者帕博利珠单抗，这些是 PD-1 抑制剂，那么回头如果在恢复用药的时候，可以考虑使用 PD-L1 抑制剂，就比如说是阿特珠单抗之类的药物。这样因为有些临床实验的结果证明，可能是 PD-L1 的抑制剂诱发免疫性肺炎的概率会稍微低一些。Okay, Dr. Li, let's try the last question. It's about genetic testing. They saw PIK3CA and also STK11 missense mutation. Are there any targeted therapy targeting these mutations for clinical trials?
Yes, so in lung cancer, those unfortunately have not led to great clinical responses. We've tried a number of agents in targeting, especially PIK3CA in non-small cell lung cancers, and doesn't seem to respond as they do in other tumors, including breast cancers. And however, the research, we've not given up on them, and there is a clinical trial targeting STK11 KEAP1 led by my colleague Dr. Paul Pack at Memorial Sloan Kettering, especially looking at squamous cell lung cancers. But at the moment, it's still very early days, and I don't have great response data to show yet. But let's keep our hopes up.
最后一个问题就是有患者问到，如果基因检测时候有 PIK3CA 或者是 STK11 这类就是目前可能没有比较好的靶向药的突变，应该有什么选择？然后李医生说的是，这些2个基因突变呢，的确是目前没有比较好的靶向药的选择，尤其是PIK3CA 这个基因突变在乳腺癌或者其他癌种里边呢，有一些临床实验结果是偏向阳性的，但是在肺癌里边呢，很可惜是目前没有比较好的一个治疗响应，然后临床实验的结果也不是很积极。然后像 STK11 的这个基因突变的话，目前在纪念斯隆·凯特琳癌症中心也有早期的临床试验在进行，然后目前也是没有很多的临床实验结果出现，但是我们也是怀有希望我们并没有放弃对于这些也是稍微常见一点，但是目前没有好的靶向药的突变基因而进行尝试，不断的进行临床试验和临床研究。那么好，我们今天的提给李医生的问题呢就到此结束，然后我们再次感谢李医生为我们带来这么精彩的讲座，然后我们也是感谢各位听众的一些提前的提问。我们今天的直播呢就到此结束，以后我们 MORE Health 爱医传递也会继续举办类似的活动，把美国医疗的最新发展第一时间传递到国内。那就谢谢大家今天的参与，我们再次谢谢李医生今天精彩的讲座。 Thank you Dr. Li.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.